I say in the Haitian community for the moment, and Lily, we'd love to hear your own thoughts on your experiences in the community and the practice.
Yeah, and you know what, I'm glad that his concluding words talked about how the Haitian Revolution was not about just black people, but it was really fighting for justice, inhumanity and injustice, which came with European colonialism. And I think one of the things that I often argue and put forth is that voodoo really is quite diverse. I mean, the kind of, I mean, let me point out that we have a white drummer. I know I like to call them outsiders, insiders, who come from the outside, but really got involved in the culture, learning because of, I guess, its universality in some ways, how about justice. And I think the Haitian Revolution, as I said, was really the first human rights struggle in history. And of course, you guys might have known, and Liza might have mentioned that there was a Polish contingent that came to fight, I think, that Napoleon had sent down there, and they got to Haiti and empathized and really brought into the struggle for human rights that was being fought there and became part of Haiti. And women's, there's the Haitian Polish community. I'm going to be very brief in what I said about voodoo, very brief in 10 minutes. And I'm going to start with a preliminary question. What is Haitian voodoo? You've heard a lot about it. For me, Haitian voodoo is Haitian culture. And why at this point I'm a firm believer in it. I found a quote from a scholar, Clergy, I don't know if I pronounce his name right, forgive my accent. But he defined culture, which is a really hard term to pin down, as the total way of life of the people, the social legacy the individual acquires from his group, a way of thinking, feeling, and believing, a storehouse of pooled learning behavior, a mechanisms for normative regulation of behavior, a set of techniques for adjusting both to the external environment and to other men or human beings, people, a precipitate of history. And I thought, yeah, I think this captures what I know about Haitian culture or my Haitian daily life or the Haitian quotidian, what I live every day. Therefore, to me, Haitian voodoo is equal, is exactly, it's Haitian culture, regardless of the resistance, and the resistance does come from somewhere, because you have a cultural practice with beliefs and so on and so forth that were repressed and oppressed by the colonial slavery experience, and still continues to do great damage, as Liza mentioned earlier, by telling people this is demonic, this is this, that, and the other. But of course, we understand as educators, as scholar educators, that it came as part of the ideological package of the colonial slavery experience, wherever it happened, to kind of become, to dislike oneself, to reject everything about oneself, to become an object, actually, empty of everything you possess, your language, your culture, your practice, your faith. So in saying that voodoo is a way of life, it's really the Haitian quotidian for me and countless others. It's because it is the quintessential repository or reposoir of the Haitian worldview. This is the way voodoo is the prism through which we see the world. Of course, it is part of our social, cultural, philosophical practice of everyday life, the way we live our lives. And as far as my personal, how it impacted me personally, the belief system and practice, I think within voodoo I've learned the value, I've learned values for the respect of self and others, respect for community, respect for nature. Examples of that growing up in Haiti, and I still gingerly, I practice, but however not as much. I know when I was growing up, if I was sent to the bush to get some basil for tea because they needed it in the night, I'd have to wake up the tree. Because the tree is a spirit, the tree is alive. And maybe the tree is going through some moments that you have to shake it, and then with permission, it's a way of asking permission to go in and ask and take the herbs for that. And that respect crosses every dimension, every layers of life, for the elderly, for children, so on and so forth. I think also my daily practice, what I learn in practicing or in living the voodoo culture, is to believe in myself being a being that is both human and spirit. And of course, maybe other people have talked about it earlier, but in the Haitian experience, cultural experience, a human being becomes a vessel, a channel, a recipient of the spirits through the trance, or for lack of a better word, what we call possession. I don't like the term possession, it sounds too demonic. I think it's a vessel where the spirits come into the human being and have a human moment, and the human has a spiritual moment. And of course, coming here and talking with my significant others in the car, and I said, well, you know, in Haitian culture, you don't just say, how are you to someone, you say, how are you, and how is your body? There's this distinction that you exist in two parts, as spirit and as human, and as physical, corporal human being. The body and the spirit are retained differently. And through voodoo daily practices, I've learned to respect traditions. You know, tradition, whether it's cooking, whether it's the subjumu that we do on January 1st to commemorate Independence Day, to respect rituals, and to respect past legacies, such as objects like Veve. A protestant would come here and would not step foot on. To me, that's a form of respect, because otherwise they go and then erase it, so on and so forth. But they would not cross it because they know it represents something really powerful within the Haitian cultural practice. And I think I've mentioned earlier that in living in voodoo every day, one of the things that I've learned is that it's embedded, equity and equality is deeply embedded in voodoo. Fairness, seeing people as equal. I resist the idea that there is any hierarchy in even the way we go through ceremonial processes. Like they may start with this rhythm, with those spirits, but then again, Steve was telling me that in a voodoo ceremony, and that's the drummer, who happens to know a lot about Haitian culture because he's been studying it for 30 years or more, is that in the Fukrada ceremony, you can begin with Yep. But you will salute Marasa, right? You will do Legba and then Marasa. And of course, Legba is, in the Haitian spiritual realm, is the gatekeeper between the human and spirit world. He opens the door for this connection to be made. He's one of the connectors.
Can I just back up and say, you know, so each of we haven't really gone through, Liza didn't really have time to sort of go through some of the cast of characters of the major spirits.
We'll go through
yeah. You know, each plays a unique role symbolically, wow. And then Legba has that connecting.
The doorkeeper of the doorkeeper of the door between the spirit and the human world. But Marasa is the spirit of children, twins. Marasa 2, et puis Marasa 3, et puis Marasa 2. And Marasa are children's spirits. It's the spirits of twins. But Legba, the gatekeeper, and then you go to Marasa, the spirit of children, the spirit of twins, you can see that despite the fact that we might want to impose a certain hierarchy, like why would a child spirit follow such a spirit that is the gatekeeper? Oh, definitely.
Ça fait c'est on a ça qui nous a brisé parce que c'est le Dieu. Donc l'homme va pouvoir. Et bah au fait, c'est les mêmes qui viennent après.
Interesting. He just told me the reason why Marissa follows immediately after the advice was kids are curious. They want to know when you knock on the door. It is most likely, particularly in Haiti, the kid that will answer. That is in most African cultures, African diaspora cultures. The children, they'll send you to the door. But I guess it's because we don't have some of the issues of that we have in Western societies, or perhaps what I know here. Another thing that I learned about Voodoo is that you should believe that life is worth living. You should believe that life is worth living. You should believe that tomorrow will be a better day, almost unquestionably. And I think this is extremely important because the same theme gets repeated in Haitian proverbs. You could find un jour pour chasser, un jour pour gibier. A day for the hunter, a day for the prey, which means the prey and the hunter can outsmart each other at any time. And I think that also embodies the notion of equity and equality that I mentioned earlier. And of course, another thing that's extremely important and probably differentiates us from certain practices, and I'm not an expert in religion, but is that the spirits can help you to ameliorate your life. You don't have to wait until we get to heaven to make life better for you. And I think that's why we call on spirits to provide protection from natural or supernatural attacks, or also natural or supernatural experiences to protect us against that. And to make us get the men that we want, or to get us that job that Liza mentioned earlier, or to make us better people as well. Make us better people. Like Liza would say, well, the law would say, you've been drinking too much. I've seen the bottle under the bed. But it does give you a chance to live life, to appreciate life, and to know that there are always endless possibilities of making life better. Almost there?
Maybe 1 minute.
Oh God. What I do professionally and communally is I was a bilingual Haitian club teacher for a number of years, common branch, and I became an English teacher and a social studies teacher, and then a staff developer, and then I'm doing adjuncting, or being exploited by Katie. Because I'm doing work, I'm doing some work, doctoral work at the Clergy Graduate Center. Though I spent a year in literary criticism, but I was a teacher, I went back in urban ed and decided to focus my research on culture, language, culture, and context in terms of Haitian students, looking at what they bring as assets that we should not lose and build on to make them more academically and socially successful. So I do teach about Voodoo in all my classroom contexts, whether I was at the K-8 level or all the way to the master's class that I teach. And my purpose for doing that is to kind of eliminate or kind of remove some of the misconceptions. Because when you say Haitian Voodoo, people often think, oh, it's you drink blood. Yes, there are some blood drinking, but not in the sense of cannibalistic blood drinking that people kind of think it is. And I often say to people, if you watch Let's Go My Mom, when was it Moses who gave the order to paint the door with the blood so that when the spirit fly over, that it would spare the firstborn of the Israelites. So in many cultural practices, we use blood, not the blood of people, but blood of animals, because we offer animals also we use animals as offerings. And what I do in those contexts is I disclose to them, whether they're Haitians or non-Haitian friends, colleagues, and youth, that I'm a practitioner. I keep an altar, and I have certain practice that I do. I do libation, and there are certain days in the year where I make cookery meal in remembrance of the Haitian spirits or the Haitian ancestors, because we do also have a cult of the dead in Haitian culture. Pretty similar to Japanese culture. I was shocked to find that Japanese give altar to their dead as well. And in Haiti, we do that too. Even the Buddhists on my shop. Some local issues, and then I'll close. Some local issues which I cannot ignore, which I think needs to be put on the table, is how the media and Hollywood has contributed to the misunderstanding of voodoo, to the demonization of voodoo, and that you as classroom, as educators, engage in such a dialogue with people in the community can take that back and kind of do away, demystify those things that have been propagated, portraying badly voodoo form. And really, in conclusion, I think voodoo has taught me, and I think that's something that we need to take back, to respect the cultural practice of all. Voodoo is quite welcoming. It accepts diversity. In fact, in Haitian voodoo temples, you will find representation or icons that are white and black, and because it's about humanity. It's not about color. So it's not about. It's about humanity, essentially. Voodoo temples are always open to everyone, and as I said earlier, it's quite has gender equity, has no gender bias. In fact, my mom, who was like straight heterosexual as far as I know, I've never caught her or saw her, but her metet, or the spirit that was primary in her life, was a male spirit, was Grambois. And when my mom was entrenched, was a vessel for Grambois, my mom flirted. And it's a way, I think, to also deal with that our sexual continuum that being fixated in a way that they want us to believe. So it allows her to take on male attitude, male behaviors, and people respected her as a male in those moments. And the man who's possessed by Ezuli, who's a goddess, would become a woman, would flirt with other men, would, and they could be. Many of them could be gay, from what I know, but some of them are not gay. And they would retreat when the spirit releases them, they will become completely male, and probably not even some connection with their behaviors as female.
I'm sorry, but we definitely have to end there. I'm
an educator. You got that, right? Educators talk.
These guys are all educators too, and they need to have time for questions soon. So it's okay.